Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Leonard Nimoy. Before Mr. Nimoy speaks, we have a presentation to make, and I think we've got a little background video to show while we talk about this award. The Douglas Morrow Award is an award that the Space Foundation presents each year. It's named in honor of our late early board member, Doug Morrow, who was an Academy Award-winning writer and producer in Hollywood and helped the Space Foundation get started in its earliest days. The award recognizes an individual or an organization or a team that has done outstanding work in communicating with the public and encouraging people to understand the importance of space exploration and to encourage their support of space exploration. We have presented this award to media and media companies such as Life Magazine, Popular Science, Discovery Networks. We have presented it to teams like the Space Shuttle STS-92 team, and we have presented it to individuals in the creative industry, such as Tom Hanks and Gene and Majel Roddenberry. It is my distinct honor to present the 2010 Douglas R. Morrow Award to Mr. Leonard Nimoy. It even looks Vulcan, doesn't it?
Very beautiful. Thank you.
It's all yours.
I'm on my way. Thanks. Thanks. All right. I spoke to my wife about an hour ago, and she said, "How's it shaping up for tonight?" And I said, "Everything's going to be okay. We're among friends." I'm sincerely honored and grateful for this opportunity and for this award. It means a lot to me, and to be able to talk to you folks, I really appreciate it. In September of 1976, I was with the rest of the cast from Star Trek. We were on the tarmac out in the Mojave Desert when the hangar doors opened and the shuttle Enterprise rolled out, and the Air Force band played ta 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 ta, you know. And it was thrilling. It was thrilling to be there. President Obama was 5 years old at that time. He became a Star Trek fan. I don't know if it happened on that day, but sooner or later he became a Star Trek fan, and I have that on personal authority because the first time I met him, which was about 3 years ago, he said, as he came through a crowd to greet me, he said, "They told me you were here and he did this, you know." And I said, "Okay, I think this is going to be okay." I am an actor, I'm not a scientist. People do often confuse the actor with the role, and they assume that I know things, you know. I was invited a while back to go to Caltech to speak to some of the students there, and with great trepidation I went, and I met some of these very brilliant young people, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, working on extremely sophisticated projects, and they were explaining these things to me in terminology that I did not, it was not my language. And I didn't have a clue what they were talking about, but I nodded very sagely and stroked my chin a little bit and was very thoughtful. And when they said, "What do you think?" I said, "You're on the right track." We are not scientists on Star Trek, but we are role models, and we recognize that. And I'm very proud of the fact that all of the crew on the Enterprise are extremely well qualified, professional, trained people. There's scientists in all the fields, and I think that's a very important thing for young people to see. And throughout my last 40 some odd years, it's been a great source of pride for me to hear people who walk up to me and say, I'm in the sciences because of you guys. It means a lot to me to hear that. It's very important. We need scientists. Maybe some of you in this room are having that same thought right now. I hope so. I hope so. Star Trek went on the air in 1966. 1966. It's hard to believe it was so long ago. For me, life very quickly got very crazy. I had never been in a television series before. I had done some occasional work in television and films, and if you saw me, you might think you knew me from somewhere. People asked me if they met me at my cousin's wedding or something, you know. But this was the first time that I had rather intense exposure, and I hadn't even bothered to change my phone number. It was still in the Los Angeles telephone directory. You could call me if you wanted to, and a lot of people did. And the phone kept ringing and ringing, and the people were knocking at my door. They found out where I lived, and my kids had to learn to lie. No, I don't know anybody by that name. He doesn't live here. No, 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 no. And people were waiting for me at the studio gate when I drove out at night, and they'd follow me home and tear pieces off the shrubbery, and it was really kind of crazy. So I got an invitation to go to Billings, Montana to speak at a college there, and I thought, that sounds pretty good to me. How crazy can it be in Billings, Montana? So I went, and I was picked up at the airport. I was driven to a local motel, and I walked into my room, and people were waiting for me outside, and I closed the door. I started to unpack. Within 3 or 4 minutes, the phone rang. I couldn't imagine who might be calling me, but I innocently picked up the phone. I said hello, and a young female voice said, "Oh, is this Mr. Nimoy?" I said, "Yes, it is." "Oh my God, I got you on the phone. I can't believe it. Oh my God, we love you so much, and we love Star Trek." And I just went on and on and on. And I said, "Who are you?" She said, "My name is Mary." "Mary, where are you calling me from?" She said, "Denver." "Mary, how did you find me?" She said, "I heard you were going to speak at Billings, Montana, and I called all the hotels and motels. There's only 3. You know? So I said, "Congratulations on your resourcefulness. Thank you very, very much for being so supportive. I have to go. There's some people waiting for me. Thanks a lot." And I hung up. I continued my business, and before I could get to the door, the phone rang again. And I picked it up and I said hello, and another young female was, "Oh yeah, oh it's you, yes, oh this is terrific." And she went on just like Mary had, and I said, "Who is this?" And she said, "My name is Sally." "Sally, where are you calling me from?" "St. Louis." "Sally, how did you find me?" "My friend Mary called me from Denver." I started acting when I was 8 years old in neighborhood theater. I grew up in Boston. I was very lucky. There was a lot of arts activity in Boston. "Oh, Boston here? Yeah, really?" Good, okay. It's a great city. It's a great city. Great arts community, a great academia and so forth, Harvard, MIT right across the river. Anyway, I started acting when I was 8 years old in children's theater, local children's theater, and I continued to do that until when I was about 17 years old. I was cast in my first, what I would consider sort of semi-professional. I wasn't paid, but I was still working amateur. But I was cast in a very serious, wonderful play called Awake and Sing by a playwright named Clifford Odets, who was very hot in the 1930s and 40s. And this was a play about a family very much like mine. And I was playing a young juvenile character very much like me, struggling to find out how to get, how do you find your way in the world? And I was caught with a bug, and I thought if I could do this kind of work, enlightening audiences and moving people in an audience, I would be blessed if I could do this for the rest of my life. So I decided to be an actor, and I said to my dad, "This is what I want to do." Now, my dad, my folks, were Russian Jewish immigrants. They came to the United States in the turn of the century. My dad was a barber, very unsophisticated, sweet, hard-working, dedicated people, dedicated to family and responsibility, but very unsophisticated. And when I said to my dad, "I want to be an actor," he gave me the only advice my father ever seriously gave me, and this was all he knew to say to me. He said, "You better take up the accordion." he said, "You can always make a living with an accordion." Well, I'll tell you something, considering the kind of work that I did for the next 10 or 15 years, that accordion would have been a step up, you know. So he said, "You'll be hanging around with gypsies and vagabonds." I thought, okay, you know, sounded kind of interesting to me, frankly. I went off to California, and before I did, well, I'll tell you a couple of things that affected me deeply. The theater where I did my theater work as a child had a very beautiful embroidered curtain, and at the bottom of the curtain, embroidered in Gothic letters, it said, "Act well your part, there all honor lies." The words I found out much, much later were from Alexander Pope, who meant it as a way of living your life, to act well your role in life, and that would be an honorable way to live your life. But it was used in this theater as a kind of a comment on the acting, and I took that very seriously. I thought, wow. If you want to be honorable, if you want honor, do the job right, do the job well. So I took that seriously. And then the last film that I saw before leaving Boston, I was 18 years old, was Laurence Olivier's production of Henry V, Shakespeare's Henry V, in which he played King Henry. And there comes a great scene where he's addressing the English troops the night before the battle at Agincourt, and he's vastly outnumbered. The French have a lot more troops than he has, and he hears somebody amongst his men say they wish they had more men, and he says, "Nay, nay, cuz wish not a single man more. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss." And then he goes on to say, "By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive." And there was that word again, that word honor. And I took it to heart, I took it very seriously, and I thought, this is something I have to keep in mind, and I have to try to focus on as I start out on this career. So, I went on a train, and I headed to that great repository of honor known as Hollywood.